Ptolemy had his guys come up with a fucking ball that matched the sky. So the whole globe comes from the sky. They looked at the heavens and they said, this is what's happening on the heavens, therefore this must be happening on the earth, which is fallacious logic, right? Just because I see on the fucking ceiling, the ceiling says something, it doesn't dictate anything on the ground, essentially. And that's where it's from. It's from Ptolemy. He's the one who came up with the model.
I don't know what fallacious means, but that's just plain dumb.
I was just gonna ask you, like, what makes you think it could be round, right? Like that's just such an off the wall idea that the Earth is a sphere to me. Like, where'd that come from? What makes you think it could be round? You said you don't know. You're like maybe 51%. Like, okay, well, what's your 49%?
Like I was explaining a field theory. Yeah, it's the only way.
Why does field theory make the Earth a sphere, though? Like, I'm asking, what makes you think
the same way that it makes everything else is from primary points? Yet we can't really see those primary points, right? Like you can't see the stuff that makes the electrons, and the stuff that makes other things.
Well, you believe in electrons, bro?
Are you saying that? Yeah. Are you wait? Can a field not exist on a flat Earth? I'm just asking, like, what makes you think it's right? What I'm asking. Okay, check this. You agree that, like, the default position, the default is that the Earth is not moving. The default is that the Earth is not moving. That the horizon is horizontal. That we see stuff in the sky move around us. That's the default, right? Like, we agree on that.
Right. Like, if we go based on how we feel, yeah.
No, just based on, like, empirical evidence and empiricism being that which can be physically tested and sensory input,
measurement versus calculation.
Right. So then if someone's going to suggest to me, they're going to come over and be like, well, actually, the Earth is a sphere that's moving, and it's the exact opposite of the default with all the empirical evidence. Okay, I mean, all right, like, prove it. That's wild. I would never just grant them 50-50. It seems weird.
Well, I'm just coming from the perspective of they came
well, for
to
me,
us.
For me, it is 50-50 because I have not personally done laser experiments. I haven't personally done interferometry. Like, so that's why I don't know yet. I can believe that's why it's 51%, but because I haven't been there for that particular experiment, I can't say that I know yet because I wasn't physically there. That's what knowing is.
Hey, Limitless, are you able to hear Noah? Because he was speaking and okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure you could hear him.
Well, thank you, Dyslow. But yeah, like, the group essentially approached the rest of the world. The Greeks essentially presented to the rest of the world in a public fashion. Now, people may have thought this in a private fashion, but in a public notice to the world, the Greeks and Ptolemy said, the Earth is a globe. We're going to Hellenize the world, and we're going to teach people our philosophy. And part of our philosophy is that the world's a globe. So when the teachers approach you, right, and they say, hey, you live on a globe, you ask them, why do you think we live on a globe? And they say, well, we discovered by looking at the sky that we live on a ball. That's where that's where the argument comes from. That's what they went around the world spreading and telling everyone. That's a fallacious reason to believe it. So right off the bat, you can say, I don't know if that's true or not, but there's actually no reason for you to believe it, given they're leading with a fallacy.
Yeah, what I'm trying to break down to you is, like, you're looking at it like, oh, I haven't done this and this and this to prove that it's flat or whatever. Like, the default position is that the Earth, which is actually just land, and it's in water, right? There's water everywhere. We have land, and it has topography, and we just have parallel horizontal layers of everything, whether that be the air going up, the ocean going down, whatever. That's the default position. I mean, that's without assuming and understanding that, we wouldn't be able to even like live the lives that we live. We wouldn't have elevations. We have to treat the earth like a stationary plane to exist, to fly the plane, etc. So if there's another claim on the table that's like, well, that's actually wrong, it doesn't just immediately get granted equal footing where the burden gets shifted over to having to prove it's flat. No. Everyday use of everything on the earth is evidence that it's flat. You see what I'm saying?
So are you happier if I say like 90% flat then or something? Does that make you happier?
Brother, your percentages have no bearing on my happiness. I'm just trying to
that's what I'm
point out
explaining.
that your logic is fundamentally flawed. You are assuming the inverse of empirical evidence has equal footing from the jump. So in order to justify that, you would have to say, well, a lot of people think that, or something, right? You have to invoke another fallacy to try to justify equal footing. That's what I'm trying to get you to think about it differently. Like this assumption that we're supposed to assume it's the opposite of all evidence is wild. Well, that's weird to me. I just prove it because, and actually, where it came from, when Noah's talking about it, really came from the idea that the sphere is the perfect shape. Well, okay, yeah, a lot of things look spherical in nature, really slightly elongated. It's a torus field. We live inside a sphere, but that doesn't change anything. Like field theory, which field isn't even properly defined. You're talking about a torus field. That's everything is the same geometry, a torus field. So I'm just trying to figure out where the Earth being an object that's bending convexly fits into all of that. We need evidence for that, right? I mean, what if I told you, if we met, you came to my crib and we're chilling, and I met you, and then I'm like, hey, but you know what? I'm actually not here. You'd be like, what? I can see you. I can touch you. I could measure you. But yeah, I know that, bro, but it's just an illusion. I'm actually not here. If you walked away and said, you know what? I'm on the fence 50-50. Austin might not have been there. That would be weird. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I would be that guy, and I can explain why. Do you want to hear?
Yeah, sure.
All is Maya. Mind within mind, thought within thought, within thought, within thought. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what explains it.
Okay, but how?
At least a possibility.
Okay. So when you say at least a possibility, where does that jump to 50-50? Basically, what this results in is an inability to deduce any truth in life. It actually renders you incapable of understanding. So what do we just walk around, and if someone pulls up to me in this golf cart right here and they're like, you know what? Actually, we're all fairies. I'm like, you know what? 50-50. They're like, oh yeah, the earth is actually a triangle that transforms into different shapes throughout the day. I mean, you know what? I don't know. So 50-50. We would never be able to find truth. If everything doesn't have the default of equal justification.
Yeah, he's making a good point. It's essentially that when someone comes to you with a claim, they need to support the claim to have any validity whatsoever, right? The claim may be true, it may not be true, but there is no reason for me to logically believe something that doesn't have support behind it.
Right, like if I go into the world and I assume it's a sphere, I can't do anything. Now, if I go out into the world and I assume it's a plane, I can get elevation, I can measure ocean depths, I can build, I can do engineering, railroads, railways, bridges. Everything that we do assumes the Earth's not moving and that it's a plane. Then someone came along and said, well, actually, it's moving. You just can't tell, and it's going to look exactly like it would if it were stationary. and it's going to look exactly like it were if it were a plane, but I promise it's the opposite. That's just weird. Like, you got to prove that, bro. You're over there just, well, I'm going to keep building bridges. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, essentially the approach is, yeah, it could be true, but do you have any evidence to support that claim? And if it's not, they bring forth the evidence, and the evidence is full of fallacies. Like, there essentially is no support. Something that contradicts itself is meaningless. Therefore, if your support is a fallacy that contradicts itself, there is no support. And if there's no support for the claim, there's no reason to believe it. The claim may be true. Who knows? But in the situation, there's no reason to believe it, that it's true. There's no reason to, essentially.
Oh, I'd like to hear about the these electrons he spoke of.
You mean how energy travels or gas rings? It doesn't just travel upon nothing?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's pretty simple. That's all that's saying.
So
like,
it's
energy doesn't
it
flow through
facilitates.
wires, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Or no?
What's that?
Like, do you think that there's electron balls that are going through the copper wire and they're smashing against each other, you know, and they're
No.
literally physically moving through the wire? Okay,
No,
that's
the
exactly
energy is
because
not
that
actually in
that
the
doesn't
wire, it's
happen.
on the outside of the wire.
Right. It's
So if it's on
riding
the outside of the
upon
wire,
inert gas, you know, and whatnot, and on the surface of the wire.
sorry, I thought you were done. So so you do believe the energy exists on the outside of the wire rather than within the copper line itself.
Yeah, majority of it, like 90%
And you
or
think
more.
it's gases which is facilitating within the
Yeah, like
transmission of the energy.
that's why you can have an energy spark, you know, spark gap. It'll go through the air.
So
Goes
what
through the you know, through all the gases and whatnot.
what about wireless power induction within a vacuum? What's there to support your flow of electrons in that scenario?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what we don't really know. I mean, I think it's ether personally.
And what do you think the ether is?
I don't really know.
There you go.
Well, check this, bro. So you seem to be interested. You said something about plasma. You lean towards the idea of plasma, electric universe. I don't know if you use
Yeah.
the word universe, but yeah. And then you use the word ether, right? So you're on the right path. You're certainly on the right path because it's abundantly clear that those things are the case.
Yeah. I mean,
plasma is just
I've done
ionized
both of these
gas.
experiments myself. I can
Yeah.
create high voltage drivers, you know, and then, like I was saying, and I'll put it in the bowl with some argon, and I can see the argon is very clearly staying in the bowl unless I like wave my hand, you know, and blow the air around and whatnot, right? So, you know, there's your density, and it's showing that a medium can stay down, but it's based on its density. If I were to put fucking helium in the bowl, that's not going to happen. It's going to float to the ceiling. You know what I mean? And then I have to put the wand and put the high voltage driver up at the ceiling to see it then. In that case.
But check this. It can stay in this position relative to the surrounding medium, but then we're begging the question, because the question on the table is like, well, what is allowing that medium to be there in the first place when it comes to the material medium of any type of gas?
Right. So either there's some kind of like roof, you know, to like in this experiment, or it's got to be electromagnetic, or like the firmament. It's the only thing that could make it possible. There has to be some kind of energy wave that is literally physically pushing away the gas, or it's something physical.
Yeah, and it could be both. So, because like what I currently think,
and I
is
know that I
there's
don't really know, but I do have a 51% more belief towards it. It's something etheric and electromagnetic in nature, and not physical, like a glass, you know, or a crystal that's up there. But that's my
it could be
belief.
both. It could be both,
I
right?
can't really prove that, you know. I mean, I
But
can kind of prove it by showing people that, yeah, look, see this magnetic field will push, you know, this oxygen away from it, and then if I generate the south, you know, magnetic field instead, it'll suck the oxygen towards it. Like, I can try to demonstrate that, but it's not proof, because unless people do it themselves, it's not really proof, because they will just not believe it.
What are you trying to prove, though? Like, who did
Well,
that
in this
idea
case, like, you
is
would be
given
able
to
to
you from somewhere
prove
else?
that
That
a
idea didn't
particular
you didn't
magnetic
come up with that
polarity
idea, though.
either pushes or pulls a gas, and you could use that to say that okay, there's an energetic electromagnetic field that is actually keeping all of the gas from escaping. It doesn't absolutely have to be a physical wall.
Okay, that's right. But it would depend on what's on the other side of the field. So like, it would depend on the strength and then what's on either side of the field. So, but what we know is there's like 100 volt per meter increase of electric potential as you increase on the earth and the air. 100 volt per meter increase in electric potential. That can be measured, right? This results in like a very, very weak.
Talked about that. I forget what there's many different
Yeah,
ways.
give me just a sec. Give me just a sec. This results in a very weak downward current. It's like 10 microamps per meter. It's super weak. So then if you keep going up, you have ionization that takes place, and of course, again, ionized gaseous plasmas. It looks like there could just be plasma layers as you go further and further up. You have different density layers of plasma, and we know that magnetic fields can shape and contain plasma for sure. It would depend on what's on the other side of it, but it doesn't have to be either or. There could still be some transitional state where there is physical, like even material containment, and it could be semi-permeable. It could be like, it could act like a super solid, and then above it, the evidence seems to suggest that
I would probably
whatever's
more say
above
like
us
a
acts like a
diode in this
superfluid.
case, since most
Bro,
of
what
it's
the
happening
fuck,
electrically.
man?
Like the way a diode works, it allows certain
Hey,
amounts of energy
limit,
or
you
wave
gotta
through
stop,
and not others.
bro, limit. Hello, sir, you gotta stop clipping people, bro. You've been doing it for like almost every sentence. Be patient and let the people finish their sentences, please.
It was bad timing too.
I
That
think
was like
Witsit
last.
was
That was
talking.
I was talking for a minute, but that was my last sentence, which was and the evidence does seem to suggest that what's above us acts as a superfluid. So we're limited to speculation for sure, but we can still acknowledge like physical antecedents and empirical evidence and to formulate our speculation, right?
Yeah, he's a little new. Got him a little slack.
I think he's
But
excited.
yes,
No, it was a good convo, but like just be patient and let the guy finish, and then you can go, bro. Like right now, you can go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just mentioning a diode. This way a diode works. It allows energy through and other energy not through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so this is another thing. Have you fallen down the rabbit hole of everything that we've been told about electricity and magnetism is incorrect? But it isn't really that there's some new discovery. It's just, yeah, they knew it back in the day. So you've heard of like, Nikola Tesla, Oliver Heaviside, et cetera, et cetera. These people back in the day that understood, like Oliver.
Magnetodielectricity, not electromagnetism.
Exactly. Yeah. Charles Pardo Steinmetz, for example, so the dielectric and the magnetic, and it's a conjugate geometric expression, which is just a fancy way of saying they're intrinsically joined at the hip. There's no removing them. There's no pulling one from the other. If one's there, the other's there because pressure mediates. So the existence of one causes the domino effect of the other. So you have the dielectricity, the dielectric, and the magnetic. You have the toroid, the hyperboloid, the divergence, the convergence, right? So like this is the real, and this is, I would say, pretty important, seeing as how we live in a world that literally operates on these very things.
100% with you now.
Yeah. So then I started trying to figure out, well, why did we run away from that, right? When these people, I mean, like Nikola Tesla, he gave us what we use today, but he's like, that's lame. Like, that's not even that impressive. It has loss or whatever. And so I'm like, well, why did we reset? That doesn't even make any sense to like throw away all that profound knowledge, use the technology, but then pretend we don't know. And the answer is to make the Earth a spinning globe, they had to do that. To claim the Earth is a spinning globe that goes around the sun, they had to throw out all of electricity and magnetism. That's when the rabbit hole got super real for me. That's actually when I started making videos. Because I'm like, oh man, this is so
that's
much
how they
deeper than
threw
like,
the
oh, what's it matter?
out.
Yep, exactly.
I
That's
know.
a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. And yeah, so I think that now, what do you know about this though? So like magnetic fields, they have something called the block domain wall. So it's an inertial plane. It's a plane of inertia. It's an unchanging plane in the center of the magnetic field. So if we know that everything is magnetic and we live within a magnetic field, well, where's the plane? Where's the inertial plane? It's where we live, bro. We live within, on top of the plane, the inertial plane. And you wouldn't be able to penetrate it materially. And then on the other side would be, the same thing. Be as above, so below. So all of a sudden, one side of the conversation makes perfect sense, checks all the boxes of ether, dielectricity, magnetism, the inertial plane. The other side's like, oh, magnetism is the exchange of virtual photons. Yeah, so it's like, it becomes very obvious which side is correct, or like at least going in the correct direction, right? So yeah, that's my rant.
If only magnetism was their only issue. They have a lot of other things that are just absolutely just not congruent with physics. They're not in the same sphere as reality.
For
It's like
sure.
an alternative physics, probably,
Yeah.
is what we should call it. Yeah.
Or fairy tale physics.
Yeah.
Like,
Fantasy.
because,
Yeah.
exactly, because it's like, it's the one time in physics that it seems to be accepted that you can just make up, like, oh, well, this can't be replicated. This never happened except for with the globe Earth. Like orbits. Like, oh, we can show magnetic levitation, what they call quantum locking. We can show all kinds of electromagnetic phenomena causing orbits. Okay, well, what do they say? Oh, well, something's free falling, changing direction, but it's not changing direction, and it does this simultaneously, perpetually.
Constant falling. Yeah. Constant
Yeah, and
which
falling.
is better explained in wave function. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so I actually call it anomalous physics. That's what I normally call it. SC. Call it anomalous
Yeah.
physics.
Pick
Yeah,
any
because they
name,
claim like this is
yeah.
the anomaly. Yeah, this is the anomaly. The globe Earth is the anomaly.
I posted
it's like in reverse.
Yeah. Chat, by the way, about the block wall for people who might not have seen that. Also,
yeah, dude,
all noise.
That's good.
Which is based off the block wall.
Yeah, and then block is of course just named after the guy who discovered it. But I like plane of inertia or inertial plane because it's more descriptive as to what the phenomenon actually is. It's it's an unchanging plane. So then when okay, this is my opinion, and I feel pretty pretty strongly about it. The first natural law, the actual one all-encompassing natural law, is that all things seek equilibrium via pressure mediation. That's like the summation of the natural world. All things seek equilibrium via pressure mediation. Everything. So if you have a torus field, and some would say you can talk about the double torus, and that's a whole side subject as to the way they broke up the torus field. And you have both sides of the torus field. You have the inertial plane through the middle, and you have the pressure mediating towards that central point. That's where you get the inertial plane. Because so we think that like magnetic attraction, like no, nothing is like reaching out and grabbing something and pulling it towards it. Nothing is like kicking it away from it. It's accelerating towards the null pressure point. It's accelerating to where it can be equalized. That's all. It's what's happening. It's just like, oh, this is where I can pursue equilibrium. Yeah, it's very simple.
Everything seeks to be not moving. In other words, everything is lazy. Think of it like that. What state do you prefer to be in? Sitting in a chair doing nothing or running around? So that's nature in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I actually I think I would retract. I think the first natural law would be that everything is vibratory.
That's a hermetic principle.
It's actually hard to create the sequential order though, because so it's like everything is vibratory. Well, vibration is so that would be the first one. Everything is vibratory, and this causes the process of seeking equilibrium via pressure mediation. If I start to shake something, like if I put sand on a table and I play a song, the sand moves around, right, and it equalizes relative to the sound waves. And of course, sound waves is just like a disturbance of the air. It's just the air moving. It's the air. There's no such thing as a sound wave. It's just the air. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like everything is responding and reacting to the vibration. Then it equalizes or attempts to equalize based on that because it causes pressure. And so you could put this in really elementary terms and teach a 10-year-old this. And then the next Nikola Tesla was 10 years old, understood the entire natural realm of physics, and then would change the whole world by the time he was 16.
Yeah, he said everything is vibration. That was Tesla's thing.
What's another word for vibration? Frequency.
Yeah, you can think of everything in terms of vibration, frequency. That's Tesla all the way.
Yep. Yeah, you have to use all three: energy, frequency, and vibration. That's how a circuit works, truly.
Correct. Yeah.
All three. The frequency comes from capacitance. Okay, that's your little batteries that are in your circuit. And you put a resistor on the wire that goes between that capacitor, and that's what changes its charge rate, which changes how fast it can dump its energy, which changes your frequency.
Yeah, this is why this conversation is so important. It will never go anywhere. It's been here since the beginning. It'll always be here. And when people try to undermine the profundity of it by saying stuff like, oh, GPS, it's like, all right, bro, go take your booster because we're talking about the actual
right. Yeah,
fabric of reality.
Take your booster.
Yeah, you have to understand where you live. And by the way, dude, I've never heard a baller jump in these conversations. When we're talking about this right here, how everything seeks equilibrium via pressure mediation.
About electricity.
Dude, that's right. They won't say anything about this.
Especially if you start talking dielectricity and whatnot, they fucking shut up real quick.
Or with me they'll just call it word salad or whatever. But that's just like bowing out. I think it's pretty telling that they won't engage in this part of the convo because it's pivotal to the whole discussion, right? Like I guess someone just asked me to go talk at some other server, and it's like flat Earth is dead or whatever. Is it though? Is it because you're scared to talk about what we're actually talking about?
I'm gonna make him go change that. I'm gonna go there and make him change that. Fuck that.
Well, I just think it's funny because it's like they're not going to talk about this. They're gonna either concede or be silent, right? It's tacit acquiescence or tacit agreement. Silence is acquiescence.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree. That's why I'm not silent about it, even though I get fucking ostracized, for talking about it.
Yeah, but it's just just how it goes, bro. Like people that know the least act like they know the most.
Has anybody ever told you sound like Matthias, the sleeping prophet?
Which one of us?
Limitless.
Oh, really? No, don't know who that is.
Okay, that's good. That's not bad.
Should I know? Is he good?
I mean, I was a fan of him. Yeah, he's definitely a character for sure. You just kind of have a similar tone in your voice.
You know what's so funny though, dude? I don't know if I'm sure you guys in here do know, but like, so they're coming out now, and they've been doing it for a few years. It's gaining traction now, and they're saying that dark matter, which they claim comprises 80% of the matter in the universe or whatever. They're claiming that it's a superfluid. They're now saying dark matter is a superfluid, bro.
I know. That's what I was talking about. That eventually they're going to capitulate to some kind of other model.
Yeah, we're just going to be sitting here. Yeah, we're just going to be sitting here waiting. We're not changing anything. How long has Rakita been saying that the sky is superfluid, bro? Like, are you kidding me? It's pretty funny. And they say this because, of course, they say that it's cold dark matter, right? You have the lambda cold dark matter cosmology, and that the requirement for superfluid is really cold temperatures and like very compacted matter, right? Like densely compacted. And that's redundant because density is compactness of matter. So it's like, oh well, it checks the boxes, so it can be superfluid. So now all of a sudden we can get past some of these problems we have, where these quote unquote dark matter halos don't do what they're supposed to do, or when these galaxies supposedly merge, they don't slow down. When we look at these dark matter halos, there should be viscosity and resistance because of the material, but there's not. There isn't viscosity, so they're like, wait, what's going on? Meaning, yeah, like just like the guy said, the perfect analogy: you drop the penny in the jar, or the empty jar, or then you drop the penny in a jar of honey. So it should be like it's going through honey because there's so much dark matter allegedly there. But it doesn't. It drops like it's just an empty jar. So that's why they need dark matter, because then they can say, oh, well, there's no viscosity. Because, I mean, that's why they need superfluid. You know, superfluid has no viscosity. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have a problem there. If they say it's superfluid, then it would be able to be detected. But their dark matter is undetectable. So,
Yeah, of course. Of course. But they have to assume it's everywhere because, you know, relativity only accounts for a percentage of it, and there's way more stuff unaccounted for.
Well,
I was actually just, I spoke at Flattoberfest. And Danny Faulkner was in the, I know he sits in here. I don't know if he's in here right now. But Danny Faulkner was sitting in there while I was giving my presentation. And I'm still just waiting on rebuttals. I know he's gonna write an article and all this stuff, but it's like, he thinks he knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't. That's what he told someone. Dude, what I just said is objective. Many people within the field of astronomy are turning towards the idea that dark matter is superfluid because they need a lack of viscosity to explain the observations. Okay, and that's, I mean, it's pretty telling.
But even that, bro, even that doesn't mean anything. Because how are you going to go from non-detectable to superfluid? How are you going to do that? No.
Well, okay, but that's what I'm saying. So this is the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is that what they're claiming the force is not what the force is. Okay? So there is a force. There's objectively a force, flat Earth included, above us. Things don't just move perpetually in a cycle, in a giant circle, just for no reason. There's a force. It's obviously electromagnetic as everything is. They claimed it was something called gravity. What they denote as gravity, this offshoot, is actually like an emergent property of the fluid-like background, right, in my opinion. But what I'm saying is they had to invoke a force to explain their model. It had to be a very specific type of force that isn't a force but acts like a force, right? And so they're stuck within that, where they have to claim that there is something in addition to it. And they couldn't just define it as like an all-encompassing medium, because then they have a problem with their cosmology. I hope that was coherent. My point is that, like, yeah, they say that there's something there they can't define, or, you know, they can see that their theory of the force that's not a force doesn't work. They can see that. They can see that there's something else going on, but they can't concede that Because no one can conceive of an alternative to explain the Earth being a sphere that's tilted, wobbling, spinning, and revolving around the sun. No one can, and no one ever will. And that's why Einstein's so famous, because he came up with something. You know, he came up with something to try to explain away the evidence. No one will ever replace him. Ever, ever, ever. It is impossible. It's intellectually impossible. So.
What do you mean to replace Einstein?
Yeah,
What's
meaning
impossible?
he did such mental gymnastics to explain the Earth supposedly revolving around the sun, right? Where it's like relativity, and you just start going crazy. We all know relativity is just a shit show, you know. No one's gonna be able to come in and then like offer something else to fix the new problems. Never, bro. You can't. There's way too many paradoxes. There's too many paradoxes in relativity. That's why they're like, oh, we'll just wait, and relativity is pretty good, and oh, we'll try and modify it slightly and all that stuff. No one will ever be. That's why they're at a standstill. Is all I'm saying. They're literally stuck, and they'll sit there for another 100 years, unless people like us are like, okay, let's just knock all your stupid pieces off the board because you're retarded.
Hey, Witsit, I posted a link that you have to watch. You probably already know about it, but they're coming out with another cosmological theory that states we are relatively at the center of this cosmic bubble of super dense gas that's at the outer edges, right? And all the stars are at the edge of it. I kid you not, bro.
Wow.
And I mean, what could that be, right? What could, besides the firmament, you know what I mean? And I mean, I think that the stars are within the firmament or encrusted on the firmament somehow. And it's a superfluid. It moves through the firmament. But now that science is starting to come out with like cosmological ideas that kind of fit our understanding, just watch the video, bro. It's a couple minutes long. It's insane.
Yeah, well, I just opened it up. Good luck. I will say, I think the firmament is, yeah, there are layers to it, right? So I mean, they could just be like within the layers.
Oh, like the Babylon version. You seen the Babylon old map?
I haven't, but most cosmologies seem to encompass this idea of typically 7 layers to the firmament. Because they all knew. It's like, imagine living back then when everyone knew and then trying to propose new cosmology. You have to at least acknowledge like what everyone knows.
There's an ancient Greek model like that, sphere on top of sphere. I forget which one it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
exactly what you
endless.
just said.
Yeah, you got the Hindus. It just goes on and on and on. That's crazy that they're trying to say something about that one. Because like a bubble, I think a bubble makes sense. Personally, I think we are in a bubble. I think we're in an electromagnetic bubble within superfluid, and it separates the heavenly water from the earthly water, meaning that the water terrestrially accessible is different than that outside the containment. And it is. And Earth means land. Earth is not an object. It's the land brought out of the water, which is all around us. It's above us. It's all around us. It's below us. And there's water that's slightly different above us. That's where I'm at. So it's crazy if they're talking about a bubble because, yeah, I think that's accurate. It's a magnetic bubble.
Habitation, you mean? It's
Yeah,
really what they'll never say that though, probably because I would describe it too well.
Cavitation. This man is all over it. What are y'all?
Yeah,
what are y'all reading my journals?
These guys in the Amazon, I forget what they're called, but essentially they live this tribal lifestyle or whatever. And they have this, I guess, like this big hut that their whole village goes inside of, and like they smoke it out and shit. I don't really know particularly, but I remember watching these guys, and they have their priest for the whole tribe. There's about 60 of these guys, and then they have a bunch of different villages, and each village has a priest. priest is describing in the smoking lodge, or this fucking like this hut in the forest in Amazon, essentially, that they resemble the universe in their lodge or whatever. And they're like, yeah, this is the floor. Like, we have a floor in the world, and the roof represents the sky, and the walls represent the pillars, and the walls represent pillars that hold up the sky and stuff. So, I mean, there is people still today who people would consider primitive, but it shows that their religion, they pass down this house cosmology, I guess, or living space cosmology. And that's the same thing for a lot of cosmologies before they're essentially westernized or romanized in a sense.
I seen a video of a black dude who's not a flat earther. He's not in this realm whatsoever. No pun intended. And he did DMT, bro. And he said he could see what looked like to be like a firmament above. Where normally you couldn't see it, but on DMT he was tripping and he could see something up there, bro. And I know these shamans, they're doing DMT, they're doing ayahuasca, they're doing all kinds of other psychedelics, and they're maneuvering through the realm astrally. Like that's what they do. That's what shamans do. I know it sounds crazy, but I know that sounds crazy, but that's the best way to explore the realm, right? Not on a rocket, not on a spaceship, but astrally is the only like real way that you could do it, feasible way that you could do it.
It's not.
I've done these things and also done it with other people, and you can go into the same dream state, change anything you want. You literally are God when you do this.
You are a part of everything. You feel that you are part of everything. You know everything.
Pretty much. It's just difficult accessing it, and it seems to take something out of us every time we do it, like going to the abyss, so to speak. When you come back, you don't really know what you're going to come back with. And that's why you have to set the space, and why that's so important, because the space that you're in when you do these things matters. At least it does for me when I've done it. Like the mandalas and everything that's on the art and in the room, it literally like becomes a part of you when you do these experiences. Like you literally go into the walls and the walls go into you. That's how it feels. Like in the movie The Matrix, when Neo like first takes the red pill and he like touches the mirror, and it's like the mirror becomes him, and then he gets sucked into the thing. It's a lot like that, actually.
Exactly, man. You get me the chills. Made me remember the experience.
Yeah, you've done it too?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's the only way I can describe it.
I did the frog. Yeah, it's the only way you can describe it, but because it's something you can't exactly show to people and describe to people. You see things that you can't describe really. The words we are using are not perfect to describe the experience. You feel that you are everything, every molecule, everything. You feel that you know everything, and there are some the current experiment they try.
That guy just cut out.
I think so.
Yeah, I did for me too. Thought it was me.
I was replying to Noah though.
The procedure?
I'm not surprised that those Native Americans had that model because of that, but the only problem with that is it's not objective, it's not empirical. Someone could just say, you're just hallucinating, so you can't use that to back up our model. But it's just interesting nonetheless.
What's the procedure for this?
Like the burning bush that Moses might have did too. He might have, been on that stuff too.
Okay, you two were describing this altered state that you go into. What's the procedure that you guys use to get into that state?
Like, you mean how do you make DMT, or what do you?
No, I'm not talking about DMT. I'm talking about you said that you could astral travel and shit.
Yeah,
that's without DMT, correct?
Oh yeah, you can do it without it too. You don't have to have
what was the procedure? What was the procedure? What is the procedure that you used?
I don't really have anything that works like 100% of the time, but I do have some stuff that kind of helps. It seems like one
What was
thing
the
is abstinence
procedure?
for sure, like not doing certain things. So, like if you're already like smoking marijuana, as an example, try not doing it for a while. That way, you can like start having better memory and dreaming more. That's an example, and then you can start, probably having more dreams again, and then if you concentrated on it well enough by writing your dreams down, different things like that, that can also provoke it. You want to do things like reality checks. I do that
What's the
as well. So
procedure
like
you did? What's the procedure you
first
did?
thing,
Like when you
well,
did,
like
when
I
you
will
got into
use
that state, what like,
I
can you,
use a
can you bring us, wait,
ELF
real quick, let
magnetic.
me ask the question. Let me ask the question real quick. Let me ask the question before you answer it. What can you give an example of one time you've entered this state, probably the most profound time you've entered this state, and how you went about getting into this state? Like a specific example that you, like a testimony from you.
Yeah, I mean that was DMT and ketamine at the same time. That's probably the most profound. But I thought, asking like how you would do it like without psychedelics, which the only way
Oh
I've
yeah,
done that is with
I thought you were doing it
magnetic
without.
fields. No, I've done it with other methods, but it's not technically sober, and doing it through meditation or whatever. I was using an ELF magnetic field generator in the other case, as far as not using a psychedelic.
Wait, an
So this is like
ELF field gen? What is that?
yeah, extremely low frequency, like frequencies under like 10 or 20 hertz usually. So in this case, nearing the Schumann resonance of the planet, you artificially match the frequency of the Earth to enter the alpha zone. It's brainwave entrainment.
ELF. So this gives off a magnetic field that you sit next to,
Yeah,
essentially.
it's like a little, magnetic field generator. Yeah, it gives off like a very, very small amount, like 0.1 milligauss. You don't really need much. Less is actually, but if you do too much, then your brain is like, whoa, this is like too much and I'm not used to this. It's not like the Earth. The field that we're in with the planet is very weak, but it's huge. So it has a very large area of influence. And it's the same thing Tesla was doing. Like if you lay in the sand, he writes about laying in the sand, right? And that he like saw the sun basically, and he got visions, right? And I've done that too. If you just lay in the dirt and get grounded enough and try to block everything out and just be and just be present. Close your eyes during the day. You can see the flash rate of the sun, which matches the Schumann resonance. At least I can. It takes a little while for to start kind of seeing it, feeling it, enough breathing and whatnot. So same thing there.
No,
Just copying that frequency in a square wave generator, and then hooking up it to a copper wire with a couple of turns and whatnot, about 50 feet of wire or so. Wrap that around like two little magnetic eyes. Then you've got your magneto core to send the transmission through. Put that near your body, near your head, kind of thing, and that's it.
By the way, this is taught by Bible believers. It's called getting still, getting quiet, lowering your frequency, so you get closer to the Creator, and He will show you things. You don't need drugs to do it, but it takes more like discipline. So it's a heart matter. People do it when they fast also, and it increases their value, so to speak. So you can see more about creation and learn more and be given more truth. More truth will be placed on people who do this because it's proof that they're willing to do things to receive the truth, and they'll do the right thing. It's just frequency based.
Kind of like
I was
we're
gonna say,
radios
no, I
and
don't
TV
recommend.
channels that we can tune into.
Hold on, let me get in real quick. No, I don't recommend that you do drugs to experience this stuff, especially at the risk of angering the Creator. Because me and you, we're Christians. We can't be just doing drugs like that. Because you never know, But like, if when I did it, there's certain drugs that specifically are for astral projection, bro. Like the shamans in Mexico specifically do salvia divinorum for that reason. And it's heroic doses that you have to take to literally have an out of body. And that specific drug, like if you read the trip reports on the internet, bro, like mad people have had out of bodies and like have seen the realm on specifically that drug. Doesn't always happen with mushrooms. That doesn't always happen with DMT. But for whatever reason, salvia divinorum, and salvia divinorum is different. It's a different molecule altogether than mushrooms and DMT, which are like connected to serotonin, melatonin, dimethyltryptamine. They're like tryptamines, bro. Salvia is one that will literally pull you out your body, and like you can like literally traverse the realm, bro. And that's what they would do, the Mexican shamans specifically. Now, I don't recommend you get it at the local gas station. Get it freshly grown if you're gonna attempt it. But I don't recommend you do it, bro. Do it naturally. Do it through fasting and prayer. Ask the
Why would we
creator,
need to trip
right?
on some kind of drug
Ask the creator to give you an experience, right? And he will give you an experience. So, you know what I mean? If you pray hard enough, earnestly enough, he might grant you that prayer. You know what I'm saying?
I don't need drugs. I've never even done marijuana. I don't need them because I've experienced so much.
You don't need them. You definitely don't need them.
Yeah, I don't.
Anybody who tells you that you have to like fucking do one of these drugs in order to have an experience is a dark fucking manipulated shaman. Like they're literally a witch, you know, kind of thing, and a bad one at that. That's not true.
It may
like I've had so many
the
arguments
main
with
point.
these people because I've had these experiences, you know what I mean, and I had them before I ever did psychedelics. So like I try to explain that to them, like, no, dude, you're literally lying to people. Like, you know, you're taking away like my life experience and telling me that I'm wrong, you know, when I know this because I literally did it, you know, like I was lucid dreaming and doing remote, you know, viewing shit and whatnot, like when I was a little kid, you know what I mean? I wasn't doing psychedelics and whatnot unless they was being put in our food and our water or some shit like that, right?
Well, the point is you crave the drug more than you crave the knowledge that's given to you by the creator. So you want to do more and more of the drug so you gain more and more and be the knower when that's not the purpose.
Yeah, it's cheating.
Hey, Limit, from your research, are like acid flashbacks like legit? Is that a real thing?
I mean, I've only done a little bit. Like I did like one little tiny tab of LSD before, so I don't really know by experience. But from what I've been told, as far as people, yeah, it seems to be the case. Like when they work out enough, like they'll sweat or something like that enough, and it'll release. But I think it goes away pretty quickly. It's not like you're gonna have.
It's legit, bro. But I think it's psychological because once you slip into that realm, you can slip into it more easier, right? Just I don't know, man. I think stress might cause it. Like it's happened to me where like I'll be driving and I'll be stressed out, and then I feel like I'm slipping into that psychosis, bro. It's the best way I can describe it. Like, yeah, you can have that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I know some. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess I'm not there.
Is it?
I know
is it really?
some people
Go ahead.
I mean, like I know what you mean. The world underneath the world. Like I definitely respect that. Like I try to look at everything from a magnetic, point of view now. And it's like, in a way, that's like looking at a different world. For me, it's there, but it's kind of a little bit of what I saw, but not exactly. It's kind of like a mix between what we're told, and whatnot, and what I see, because I'm not really too sure yet. Yeah, so
yeah,
I didn't really see any beings or anything like that as far as my experience. It's not like those people say like, so it saw reptilians or whatever. I didn't really have any experience like that. I just saw like the beings that I saw that could like do stuff like levitate, whatever. They looked human. I mean, just like we look.
And reptilians. We all know George Bush's eyes didn't do that. I'm just kidding. Okay, kind of. Anyhow, the point I was going to say, no, yeah, I've done I have done hallucinogens where I thought I was in a infinite library of knowledge and I was connected to it. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, one thing I did want to ask, because I know you're like a health guru. We used to always say that LSD was stored in your spine. Is that legit, you think?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
No, that was misinformation. That was propaganda back in the 60s and 70s that the government deployed in a pretty severe way. So yeah, that's never been shown to be the case. There's actually been no actual scientific evidence that LSD remains in the body at all after it's excreted, after the, several hour period, as it were, when it's in the system. So that idea that it stores in the spine and
like
then
in the mind or in the ether, like it's not something physical that we can like really find then. For sure, it's like reminiscent.
The body break it very fast, and you can't fight it. When it released in the body, it was break very fast, and so you can't find it when you try to research in the blood. You can't find the LSD or DMT. And I know people that who know how to release DMT just by breathing.
By breathing. That's what I do now. Yep.
You simulate. You try to simulate the death for
Wait,
your.
what?
It's not as like much as doing a DMT hit, but I can feel it.
Exactly. But because
like I start literally
about the Huff
to the
method?
point where I can't even stand up anymore. I have to literally go to the ground. Like it literally takes me to my knees, like I'm trying to bend to the cross or some shit like that. That's literally what happens.
I did that once,
but that takes like 20 minutes of breathing for me. I can't just do that in like 1 minute like you can with a hit. You know what I mean? Obviously, like with a DMT hit, you can just snort it, or drink a tea, and it's really quick. Breathing
I've read literature.
Takes work. That takes training, meditation, and will and patience.
It's producing the lungs now. They're finding out. Have you heard that?
It's actually, I think, produced by piezoelectricity.
Yeah, I know it's in the pineal gland, but they're also finding connections that it's producing the lungs too, bro. I don't know how.
Well, the lungs are connected to the spinal cord, which help the like when you like when you breathe like really, really deep and then you exhale, like really deep. You think about it. Your physical body, your spinal cord is moving, and our bones have like stuff like apatite, all these different crystals and whatnot in them, right? And when you vibrate the lungs, so when you're breathing, I don't just breathe, like I actually hum. I like, I do that too while I'm breathing, and that's the only way that it works. If I don't do the humming too, I don't get that same experience. So if you want to try this stuff, I highly recommend you close your eyes, and whatnot. Get into the dark if you have to. It doesn't have to be in the dark. I've done it during the day, but it's easier at night. Cover your nose, and whatnot, and then a little bit so that you can like kind of like make like little tiny air slots and whatnot. Don't cover it completely because obviously you got to breathe, and sing and try to match the bee, like a bumblebee kind of frequency. That's what I do.
And there's the easiest way is you try to sit down. But you don't put your ass on the ground. Just you try to couch, and you take 20 deep breath, and you release 20 times, and you stand up. You try to place yourself next to your bed, because maybe you'll pass out or you'll sleep for seconds. And when you stand up, catch your neck, the places where you had the blood flow in your neck, the right and the left place. Catch it and try to squeeze it for 10 seconds, and you keep your breathing. You stop your breathing. You take a deep breath and you stop your breathing, and try to catch your neck for 10 seconds and release. Open your eyes. You open your eyes. You sleep directly. You sleep. You pass out, and when you wake up 10 seconds or 15 seconds after that, you feel a joy. You find that you were smiling when you were sleeping. You find that you are smiling, but you don't know why. You see things, you dream, but because it's just seconds, you don't remember the dream. You don't remember anything in the dream, but you know that you were dreaming, and it was a long dream. It's so easy. You can do it just 30 seconds. You can do it. You test it. It's really cool. You take 20 times deep breath and you release 20 times, one after the other, while catching on the ground. You stand up, you take a deep breath, you catch your neck, the left and right section of your neck. For 10 seconds, you close your eyes, try to relax, don't stress, try to relax and release. After 10 seconds, release, try to breathe normally. You open your eye, you pass out directly, or you just have feelings in your body that your body is trying to vibrate. Vibration, it's not chills, but you feel vibration in your veins. I don't know if I could explain that easily for you, but it's really it's so easy.